The following episode of Listening In contains adult language. Listener discretion is advised.
You're watching Forget Being Cool.
It's been a while.
Welcome to Listening In, the place where music checks in.
Hi, Josh.
Hey, Dave.
It's been a little while for us, but as a listener of Listening In, this is the place where music checks in. I'm Dave Moore. That's Josh Weinberg.
You know because you said the line, I have to do it. It's been a while.
It's been a while for us.
Only time I will make that lame joke.
It's been a week.
Time.
It's been a week for our listeners. That's normal, guys. This is Listening In. We picked an album, and by we I mean I picked an album this week because I like one track on it.
And here at Listening In, we believe in democracy.
If this was a democracy, we would have voted on it. We probably still would have elected the wrong guy. That's just a thing. Josh is Canadian, that's why I'm allowed to make that joke. Anyway, guys, let me level with you. There's about 3 or 4 tracks on here that I quite like. Like, I legitimately love these tracks. And then there's about 12 tracks on here that I despise.
I've known this man for several years, and I do believe this is one of the only times that he has truly said the word despise in a sentence.
Uh-huh. This is a whole new level of Dave hate. People of Forget Being Cool, the subscribers of Forget Being Cool know how much I hate things. They know how much I love things. The middle ground is very weird, but we've now crossed into a whole new territory. Josh, tell me about this album, because you like to do that. You look this up. You were excited when I gave you this, it seemed like.
I was, because I had heard of it, but I wasn't familiar with it. But on this week's episode of the Listening In podcast, we are covering the sophomore studio album from Australian electronic musician, DJ, producer, songwriter, Flume, Skin.
Yep.
And Flume has been around since, I want to say 2012. That's when his debut came out. And since then, he's become sort of the head of this new subgenre of electronic music and dance music, future bass. And when you listen to some of the tracks on Skin, you can sort of start to understand why it's very jittery. There's maybe a little bit of even some like trap or light hip hop influence in the hi-hats I hear. And it definitely has a little bit of an icy undertone, but it's still very whimsical and slightly imaginative in the production, which on the instrumentals on this album, you really do hear that. But I also feel like Flume himself can be a bit of a chameleon in his production process. He tends to work off of his collaborators in most cases quite well, as it shows on here.
Yeah, and that's kind of it. Why is the word escaping me? Music only tracks that are just him without the features tend to lack in things. Like, it feels like the people being featured on this album bring so much to the music itself that it outweighs what is Flume, right? Like, it tends to become part of the background, but in a way that it is very successful. And when it gets put on its own in particular tracks, excuse my adult language here, on the track Wallfuck, I hate this track. I think it's the most despicable, gross thing I've ever listened to. I think it is what the Sonic Youth is just noise joke is. This is just bad noise.
I'm pretty sure that people that know what Sonic Youth is wouldn't call them just noise. And even,
yes, I know
even
that.
Even to keep with the metaphor, I thought there were parts I liked about that. I know that there are some instrumentals on Skin that I prefer more than others. But, I mean, when you're going to call your song Wolf, I think you pretty much know what you're expecting here. It's abrasive. It's a little bit off the wall, pun intended. But I think it works. My main thing with Skin is there are some features on here that actually work really well in the album's favor, but there are a couple that don't stick the landing as well as I'd like them to. And I will say this, when you can make Tovlo sound good, then you're doing something right because I actually quite enjoyed Say It,
I love
even
Say It.
though
I love it.
even though yeah, it's a lot of the songs on the album are about relationships or love in some way or another.
Like a
Just the
lot,
way
like
the hook hits on that.
yeah, the hook hits perfectly. The same way that what I think is maybe a mix mash of a lot of sounds is Lose It. Like it is a very bizarre song, but when you get into that catch, that rhythmic of it, I love that track. It's
See the
something that at first and after the first couple listens, I was like, I don't know how I feel about this. And then as I kind of got into it, I was like, you know what? Like I really do enjoy this.
I think for me, I don't know how else to put this. I wasn't a huge fan of Lose It. I mean, I do get the appeal that it can sort of seem like it's a little bit of an odd party song in a sense, but maybe it was Vic Mensa's flow on here. It sounded slightly like Chance the Rapper a little too much in some ways, or maybe it was just the akimbo-ness, if you will allow me to make that a word, was a little bit off, but I wasn't digging that as much as I wanted to. But if we're talking about, songs featuring hip hop musicians, you know, and if you don't know, now you know, because man, that song was, as the I'm sure as the kids say, actually maybe the kids of like 3, 4 years ago would say, that song was fire. When you can get a guy from the Wu-Tang Clan on your album and he kills it, you're doing something right.
There's a track on here that is very atmospheric, and I can't even tell you which track it is. And I'm looking at the list right now. That's how
I
sad.
would assume it's an instrumental if you're.
It is an instrumental, and it is sounds and like children playing on a playground. Like this is
Yes, I remember this one. That's one I actually quite like. I want to say it's When
oh
Everything Was New or Free. One of
yeah.
those.
I would say it's definitely in that section. Let
I
me tell
kind
you.
of like that though. The way it ends and it leaves you wanting more almost, because then it just sort of cuts out.
You see, you and I completely disagree on this, and I love that about this. It's everything about that atmospheric-y kind of sound from Pink Floyd The Wall without everything that's great about Pink Floyd The Wall. It's just random sounds of children making sounds for no reason, and it doesn't belong here, and it has no purpose, and it's not that interesting. Uh, and
Yeah, I mean,
I,
I don't know how else to put this, but sometimes music can just exist for the sake of being music.
I can agree with that statement. I just don't know how I classify that particular track. Other than that, though, Josh, like on a serious level, like things like "Never Gonna Be Like You" are
Yeah, Never Be Like You. I know that was a song, one of the songs you mentioned when you suggested this that you were really into. And I found myself actually really enjoying Kai's presence on there. And I think I may consider checking out some of her work after this. And also, um, Hyuka. I'm not sure how to pronounce her name, but
right.
she was pretty good on the on Smoke and Retribution,
I
which
was
also featured Vince Staples, which man, I know Vince Staples put out a really good album with FM last year, but I gotta give that a listen. I heard that was really good.
yeah, got to completely agree with you on this. And I mean, I picked this album basically exclusively on "Never Gonna Be Like You," right? That is the reason I picked this album. It was a defining a song of 2016, I would say. It changed. I don't know, brought this EDM kind of style. I think for me in the general audience, like maybe obviously this genre has been around for a long time and has affected lots of people, but it seemed to stand out amongst the normies in the world, the people who don't explore this kind of genre as much. And it crossed that barrier into this is a song that people recognize and hear and know. Versus, I don't know if you could tell them that it's Flume. Like, I don't know if Flume crossed that line yet.
Well, I believe this album did win the Grammy for Best Dance Album or Best Dance Electronic Album in 2017.
You know,
which is that was
how much does the standard populist top 40 kind of things pay attention to, like the Grammys for music? Like I know
not often, but again, they do have those few times where they actually tend to get it right with these sort of more underground critical consensus. Yep, in 2017, it won for Best Dance Electronic Album, and Never Be Like You, I think, was nominated for Best Dance Recording the same year. So it won something, but again, awards are just a small drop in the bucket. They don't really mean that much. The only opinion that really matters is your own, if I can borrow from the Rock Critic over on YouTube. Not so shameless plug. Anyways, I also think towards the back end it does drag a little because again this album is more than an hour long, and when albums cross the 60-minute threshold, certain things might tend to weigh it down. Innocence and Like Water actually was Take a Chance and Innocence, which I also really enjoyed Take a Chance because
that was
I
gonna be
like
my
Little
next one.
Dragon and I thought the feature on there was really good. But Innocence, I think it didn't need to be 6 minutes. It was good, but I feel like it could have been trimmed down just a bit.
The
I liked Tiny Cities. I liked Beck's feature on here, but it was just okay to me. I don't know. Maybe it's just because I wasn't as big on colors as some other people were, but I think that's sort of the thing with a lot of with some electronic albums is you have to balance your features because lots of some of them worked, but some of them I feel like could have benefited from maybe just I don't know
I would still argue,
not
and
happening.
this is an opinion, obviously, as we've established here. I would say that the tracks that feature people tend to lean towards being my favorite tracks on the album. And even the ones that I don't particularly think worked 100% still tend to outweigh the Flume by himself non-featured stuff. Like I feel like this album does really well because of its features. I know that you need to set that as a balance, but I think bringing these people together to create something like this is leans in its favor this time. I think the track is the track. Then by that I mean the album tends to be just a little too long, especially the intro track. Feels like it kind of takes a little bit too long to get into it. But in my honest opinion, and this is where I leave you with this, guys, is I would listen to this entire album in its full. And obviously, Josh and I have different opinions here, and that's a great thing because it shows we have different tastes and genres and different feelings about different tracks. And I absolutely think that this album is worth your listen. Like, it is worth giving it the time of day to give it a shot because I think most people, if they give it a shot, will walk away with 2 or 3 tracks on here that I think they'll love and put in their libraries and have it as, one of their favorites on Spotify.
And as someone that reviews music on the side and has covered some electronic music, and I mean I love me some ambient music. I love stuff where the production takes focus and you can really immerse yourself in the beats. I think this album does that well on most occasions, and I feel like there are some parts here that you could get rid of and it would just improve the overall package, but I feel like for most people's introduction to Flume and what he does, it's pretty good. And I suppose you could say he's already much more comfortable in his own skin.
Ha ha ha. I'll let you
But
have
I
that.
think if you're looking for a way to start getting into the future bass scene, this is a good place to start. And I'm interested to see for his next album what other people he collaborates with.
Yeah, because and the more this does, the better success this has, the more people that could get featured. And I think his skills mixed with a lot of people could be something really special. Anyway, Josh, I really liked it.
I know this is 2 for 3 so far. You're doing good.
Anyway, guys, thanks for listening in with us at Listening In. This is the place where music checks in. Josh and I have had a great time making this show, and this is by far not the end. Of course, you guys can go and get our playlists, our upcoming albums, all this stuff over at forgetbeingcool.com on the Listening In page. That's where you guys get all this stuff. And thank you so much for listening. And if you guys want to do us a huge favor, comment below with your thoughts, things you guys want us to talk about, as well as hitting that subscribe button. It means so much to us. As well, hit that like button. If you guys didn't like this show, I don't know how that could happen. Josh is a wonderful person. You guys should hit that like button. If you guys do not like this show, we need to know that too. So hit the dislike button. I know. Scary. Hit the like button. Just do it. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys next week on another edition of Listening In on Forget Being Cool. Bye.
And this album is officially checked out.
I got one more thing I got to do before we stop this recording.
For more great discussions, hit that subscribe button or visit forgetbeingcool.com.